Klaus Jurgens, European Affairs analyst. He's based in Innsbruck in Austria. Klaus, thanks for your time. And so it really will be dominated by Donald Trump, won't it, as he arrives in triumphant mood, not just for those developments in the Middle East, but really the biggest prize NATO could give him is that commitment to increasing defence spending. Will that ease fears over American involvement in the future in NATO?
Well, thanks for having me. Now, of course, it's going to be a huge summit. Now, they talk about deterrence and defense. They talk about collective defense, counting hybrid threats and everything. So there was a huge agenda long before. But now, of course, it has been singled down. There is the Ukraine situation going on. And now, of course, Iran and Israel. And what Victoria said, what you just said, of course, is absolutely right. It will be overshadowed, if not dominated, by this issue. Now, let me come back to 2 points, if I may. It was a year ago, I mentioned very discreetly, NATO is in a process of soul searching. What kind of future for NATO? What kind of involvement in global politics? And I made a very cynical but not meant negatively comment that NATO cannot get involved in conflicts in the China Sea. It is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and America is the key player. But then again, we have the Republic of Turkey as a key player. And then if NATO is soul searching, the EU is soul searching. Hopefully the United Nations are soul searching very shortly. And I think a summit like this should ideally not be overshadowed by only one topic. Where to NATO from now? Eastward expansion, yes, it happened. But of course, it made the Russians react a little bit angrily. You know, if basically what is considered not necessarily your friends are moving closer to your own backyard, of course, you have to come up with a plan B solution. Let's hope de-escalation is the topic. Donald Trump, of course, he will be the mega star, not MAGA, but mega star, yes, if the ceasefire holds. Let's hope the ceasefire will hold. And he won the election to a great extent by Make America Great Again, but to give America back a national sense of purpose, as we covered on the night of the election. And I don't think most Americans want to see boots on the ground. I don't think that most Americans want to see America again involved in a long conflict without any end in sight. So yes, he had a trump card, Donald Trump card, and he played it very well. Let's hope it will work out. Defense spending, 5%, absolutely. Now, if you and me would now go onto the street and do live television and ask the population in Germany, in other countries, and say, are you happy that 5% of your GDP will be invested into defense, when many families don't have enough money at the end of the month to put food for their kids on the table? I'm not so certain. Europeans will be happy America is back. NATO will continue. But I would not be surprised if eventually the Europeans will say, how can we have a bigger say within NATO?
Yeah, I'm not sure everybody on the street even knows what GDP is, Klaus, but you know, we'll try and stay positive. Let's go back to this summit then. Just one day, one session it's lasting, perhaps for those leaders with short attention spans. Perhaps that's Donald Trump. But what about Volodymyr Zelensky? He is there at this summit, but he's very much been left on the sidelines, isn't he? He'll go to the dinner, but he's not in the official meeting. You know, does that bode badly for Ukraine going forward?
No, I think it's realpolitik, dear friend, really. I think it is realpolitik. With all my modest insight, I never thought that giving Ukraine automatic NATO accession or even dreaming about becoming an EU member state overnight or something like this. This was always playing to the gallery, and apparently it worked very well for some time, but it was playing to the gallery. We have to be realistic. Ukraine is not a country that can be accepted into any of these two big organizations overnight. And I think it should become clear that we mentioned that the Americans don't want to see boots on the ground. Europeans are worried about a third world war, maybe less so day after day, but they are still worried. And they think that despite what's going on with Israel and Gaza, please do not forget Palestine, now that we have the Iran situation. Please remember always Palestine. And Europeans don't want to see Ukraine situation continue. endlessly. They want to see peace, yes. But as a former German chancellor once famously said, there will be no world without Russia. Diplomacy has to pave the way. De-escalation has to pave the way. And you actually have to talk with Moscow if you want to have a lasting peace in Ukraine. And anyone who says anything else, I think, is a dreamer, is living outside of this world. You have to cooperate, and eventually even President Zelensky has to see he will have to make some concessions. Could it be territorial? Could it be other? Even he will say better a peace with 75% is better than an ongoing war with 0%.
Okay.
And so I'm not worried about that he's a little bit sidelined. I think it is actually a positive sign that Europe and NATO are waking up. We have to defend Ukraine, absolutely, but the world is indeed bigger than 5, and the world is bigger than Ukraine. I'm sorry, I'm very outspoken about this. I want peace everywhere, but Ukraine has to give in too.
No, it's a fair point, Klaus, and we thank you for making it, but we do have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for your company.